The Florida Gators have not lost in 2024, and the streets are saying they may never. And if you disagree, Pipsqueak, pipe down.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. Happy Monday. I am Brandon Olsen. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. And we're going to keep talking about the spring game because, like I said, Florida Gators have not lost so far in 2024, and they may never lose again. Just saying. But it was a fun time to just see the Florida Gators playing football again, right? Like that was a big thing for me. It was just, I was happy to get to watch them play. And for me, one of the biggest things that popped out was, yet again, the freshmen looked pretty good, but I think the 2024 freshmen look a bit more ahead of schedule than the 2023 freshmen did. Okay? Start with DJ Lagway, who, by the way, if you're not part of the Locked On Gators Insiders on Subtext, go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGators. The link is in the description below. Yesterday, I sent to the Subtext Insiders my scouting report of DJ Lagway from the orange and blue game. You can see it there. There's going to be a lot more players coming out from this too. But DJ Lagway looked genuinely just good at football. Like, his throwing motion looked more compact, more fluid than it was at Willis. He's still learning how to play quarterback, obviously, but he has the tools where I'm willing to risk it all for him. And I do think that he has legitimate QB1, like program altering quarterback potential. And I do. And then that's something that we kind of knew coming out of high school. There's a reason he was the top rated quarterback in the country by the end of the cycle. He can be genuinely really good. Jaden Baugh, by the way, oh my good, like KD Daniels, who Kanan Daniels goes by KD Daniels now. So if you hear me say KD Daniels, Kanan Daniels, KD Daniels, and Jaden Baugh, both looked good, which was expected. I think the huge majority of Gators fans knew that the running backs that the Florida Gators brought in during this cycle were pretty damn talented. But Jaden Baugh ran with such a natural feel for cutback lanes and creating space. It was insane to me. Like, his high school tape was good, sure. But man, what he put out was wild. It wasn't stuff we expect. Like, there's a reason that Florida had to battle Alabama and Nick Saban for him. You know how many NFL running backs they've produced? Not saying Jaden Baugh is going to be in the NFL, but that natural feel as a runner is insane for someone who spent so much of his high school career moving around the formation, playing multiple spots on offense. Like, yeah, he ran the ball, but he did everything in that offense. So to see him move with such a natural feel at the next level is awesome to see. All of the running backs look good. Let's get that one there too, which maybe we take that as a concern for the Florida Gators defense, but we're not harping. Today's a good day. Today's a good day. We're a happy Gator fan base right now. But Jaden Baugh looked really good with just how quick he was to cut and trigger downhill. And that was something that was even more like it wasn't as evident on his high school tape that he was going to be like that. Like, that's more what KD Daniels was doing in high school. What KD Daniels was doing in high school was cutting before it was even open and then getting there and going. That's what Jaden Baugh was doing in the orange and blue game. It was awesome to see. I loved watching all of the freshmen. Like, you look at sticking on offense, Tank Hawkins, TJ Abrams, both of them. Like Tank Hawkins, he didn't do anything, exceptional, but his usage was what stood out to me. Because pretty much since Tank Hawkins committed to Florida, we'll say pretty much since like halfway through the season because Tank was committed earlier. But my whole thing with Tank was just if you can just use Tank the way that you use Trey Wilson, like if you use Tank in 2024, the way you use Trey Wilson in 2023, that opens up your offense a lot because you're now allowing Trey Wilson to actually play receiver, run routes, get downfield. We saw that. We saw him running posts. We saw him getting downfield as an actual receiver. And we saw Tank Hawkins run that jet motion. It was exactly how Tank should be used in 2024. He's a speed demon. Get him the football, let him outrun people. And then you open up having Trey Wilson play actual receiver. And Trey Wilson has taken strides from last year as well. We'll talk a little bit more about the receiver room later. But Trey Wilson has gotten significantly better in terms of using his hands more as an actual receiver. And it was awesome to see. Defensively, the main guys that stood out to me, obviously LJ McCray. And I will also say this: the transfer portal class, or the more experienced guys, I guess we'll say, because George Gums is a transfer portal kid, and Brian Taylor from Blinn College, a JUCO, also just they both played really well off the edge there. Which again, we'll talk about them in the next segment. But high school, LJ McCray had a great stop on it. I think it was Montrell Johnson, if I'm not mistaken, where he shed to the inside, got to Montrell, and dragged him down. And Montrell was running like 2022 Montrell. So this wasn't like last year where Montrell was a bit easier to take down. He was running like 2022 Montrell. And LJ McCray just blew up the play, made the stop, and it was awesome to see. And he's kind of been living up to the billing. I know that in the Locked On Gators Discord, someone was like, hey, I feel like not many people have been talking about LJ. LJ's been good this spring. Just know that. LJ's been good. We've had positive reviews coming from him. So LJ's been good. At safety, Gregory Smith III, number 30. I mean, and I know this sounds like I'm just like fluffing things up. I'm focusing on the good things, and Gregory Smith III was one of the good things. In high school, he was mostly a quarterback. And then he's coming here to play safety. His offer list was not very broad. His final 6 included Florida, Vandy, I think it was Arkansas, Toledo was one of them, USF, I think, was one. There weren't a ton of SEC programs out there really pursuing him heavily. And we kind of knew, hey, he's going to commit. It's going to take a while before we see anything. And I don't know if we really see him play much this year. But he just played with the confidence of a kid that it's not his first time fully playing safety or fully playing any defensive side. Because in high school, a lot of kids play both sides of the ball. That's what happens if you're an athlete, right? But he moved with conviction that you don't see from a guy who's just learning the position. You just don't. A lot of guys, they kind of learn how to play a spot and then they start playing with conviction, or they learn how to play a spot and then they're like, okay, well, I've made it this far playing this spot. I don't need to become more aggressive. And so they don't. Gregory Smith is like, well, I don't fully know this spot, but I'm triggering down and I'm making plays. And he was just flying all over the field. I think Stephen Harris also tweeted about him. It was just wild to watch him play and watch him play as well as he did. It's awesome to see. I do hope that this is one of those swings that we talk about where, you know, the Enoch Wagnoi, where we go, all right, yeah, like just swing on a player. And if you get them to commit and if you hit, it's going to pay dividends. Like people can trash the ranking and go, oh, he's a low 3-star, whatever it may be. But if you get him to commit and you get him to work, then people are going to be talking about, oh my God, what a steal that was. How is he this low ranked? That's part of the eval, baby. Like that's part of what we're talking about. And so Gregory Smith is playing lights out. And I feel like he's the kind of athlete where he's obviously very athletic, but him just coming down so aggressively, put him on special teams. I don't even care if he contributes defensively. Put him on special teams and just let him hit people. That's all I want to see. Like if you give me that this year, I'm happy with Gregory Smith. We're going to talk about the entire defense, really, but first we're going to get a quick word from LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has tools to help you find professionals that you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't even actively searching for a new job, but are open to the right fit. That's a sick part about LinkedIn, by the way. I have that on my profile too. I'm like, I'm not looking, but if something pops up, I wouldn't leave Locked On. But if something pops up extra, I'm here for it, right? LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, and so you might not have the time or resources to really go through the whole hiring process and every application that comes pouring in. It can be wild. So they've tried to find ways that make the process easier for you, and they even launched a new feature recently that helps you write job descriptions so you don't have to worry about that much too much. All right. Post your job for free, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free reviews in the podcast. And we're going to talk about the defense here, which, by the way, there's a lot of spots that we could start this conversation with because the defense, although the offense had a few big plays and a couple touchdowns that maybe shouldn't have been given up, the defense overall looked much better. Just the process of it. And I mean, results wise, still, they gave up what, 36 points? Final score was 19-17, if I'm not mistaken, which really should have been 17-16. But the defense played great for the most part. I mean, that's Pup Howard we'll start with. How about that? Pup Howard, off-ball linebacker from South Carolina that just came over from the transfer portal. That dude is something. Very aggressive, knows where to go. Made a play on the ball covering. I think it was Arliss Boardingham, if I'm not mistaken. He broke up the ball, and then he did the little seatbelt. I almost said animation, like I'm playing 2K. Did the little seatbelt celebration. Beautiful. Like I want that arrogance on the defense. The Florida Gators haven't had arrogant defenders in a while. I want that. I want a defender that's going to make a play, let you know they made a play, and not just like Trey Dean. Oh, he made gain of 40, but he made the tackle and then he celebrated. No. I want someone who's going to make a stop, break up a pass, and then let you know. Like, put the seatbelt, you're strapped in, baby. You're not doing anything. That kind of stuff, I love that from a defender. I love it. Talk trash. Go ahead. Like, we need arrogance and confidence on the defense. Give me more of that from Pup Howard. Simple as that. Like, Pup with Shamar starting. Ooh! Oh, my goodness. That could be wild. Also, Manny Nunnery rotating in. So let's talk Manny Nunnery just in general. Came over from Houston. I was a big fan of him from Houston. I love Doug Belk's defensive system. Love Doug Belk's defensive scheme. It was great. So Manny Nunnery came over from Houston. Doug Belk now is at USC, if I'm not mistaken, as a DB coach after the whole Houston staff got fired. But Manny Nunnery came over from Houston, and I was a fan of it immediately. Just because schematically, it's a pretty good fit. The defenses are pretty similar. Then last year came, and Manny Nunnery didn't play as bad as I think a lot of Florida Gators fans like to make it seem. We think about the Missouri 4th and 17. He was the guy that I will say I think was responsible for that conversion. And a lot of Gators fans are just like, oh, you made one bad play. I hate you. And I don't think that's fair. I do think for the most part, Manny Nunnery played okay. And my thought process was, hey, maybe just not an SEC starting caliber player. Like maybe that's just what he is. Great at the Pac-12 or great at the G5 level at the time. Just not a starter at the SEC level or a heavy rotator. And then the spring game, if he can play in season the way he played in the spring game, were made. And I don't just mean because Florida, whatever they have on the offensive line or anything like that. Manny Nunnery moved with confidence that we don't really see or that we haven't seen from him. And he picked off, I think it was the DJ Lagway interception, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was DJ Lagway because DJ looked to the right, didn't throw it to someone who was open, looked to the left, stared down, I think it was Brian Green, and then threw it, and Manny Nunnery made the pick. But he scared the crap out of me running with the ball just like down at his side. But Manny Nunnery looked great. And so if we can have that rotation of Shamar and Pup with Manny probably as the Sam like he was last year, or Wingo and Manny coming in as the rotational guys, like whatever it may be, Manny Nunnery looked really good. And I hope that we continue to see that improvement. Brain Taylor, there was one play where Florida, I'm doing what the commentators did, and we just go, oh, Florida did this. The offense ran GT counter, which as the right guard and right tackle pull to the left side and try to lead block. And that's the side that Brian Taylor was on, the left side. And he came down, got shuffled down between the offensive linemen and made the stop. And it was a great play. And there were a lot of plays where guys like Brian Taylor, Quincy Ivory, George Gums, a lot of these edge defenders that a lot of Florida Gators fans, myself included, were not super high on, came out in this spring game and made some plays. And they just made great plays that you don't typically see from guys that everyone is pretty universally down on. But Brian Taylor popped out a lot. George Gums popped out a lot. Quincy Ivory popped out a lot. I don't know what the edge rotation is going to look like, but I feel a lot better knowing that there might actually be some quality depth here. And that makes me happy as a Florida Gators fan, right? The secondary, Will Harris, like I have no problem saying that I was cautiously optimistic of the Will Harris hire. That I spoke to people at Washington and that they were kind of like, hey, a lot of that was Jimmy Lake and Will Harris was kind of just there. And so what I said was, hey, cool, beans, got it. Then what I care about is what you do here. And if like you were at Washington watching Jimmy Lake coach. So even if you weren't responsible for the development, you saw one of the best defensive backs coach in the country at the time develop defensive backs for first round picks. And so all the secondary looked more active, more physical. And I get it, it's mid-April. Sure. You can't ask for much more than active, physical, and knowing where the hell they're supposed to be most of the time. Right? So the defense looked much better. The coaching staff changes seem to be working early on. There's decent early returns. I think everyone can say that. Whether or not you think they keep up, whether or not you think that the fall goes well or whatever it may be, I think most of us can say, strictly looking at signing day through the spring game, the defense looks like we're getting some early returns from these coaching staff changes. That's cool with me. Like progress is progress, and I'm fine with it. We are about to talk about the receiver room, which, speaking of progress, but first, a quick word from FanDuel. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because guess what? It's playoff or play-in time in the NBA and NHL. Eddie, congrats on the Magic making it. If you're a Heat fan, congrats on the Heat. My favorite team's the #2 seed in the East. Just saying. Maybe see some of y'all. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. And I mean every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Win or lose, $150. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs, Pete Alonso, to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. Remember that FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. And to wrap up today's show, we're talking about the receiver room because I feel like for a lot of us, we were like, all right, we know Trey Wilson is him. Just capital H, capital I, capital M. Trey Wilson is him. Chimere Dike had great chemistry with Graham Mertz at Wisconsin. Khalil Jackson is a jump ball specialist that wins those more often than not. And then everyone else, we were like, they're fast. That's kind of all we got, right? Like we know the top guys, and then there's just fast. Andy Jean, of course, did not participate. He's been banged up for a lot of the spring. Trey Wilson looked better as a route runner this year than he did last year, but what I was more impressed with was his catching. He had one where it was, if I want to say anything right, curl and was pretty blanketed, went up, high pointed the ball, brought it in. It was a great play. And I mean, Trey had, it was like 8 catches and like 16 yards per catch. It was stupid numbers. It was stupid productivity, but Trey Wilson had it. Chimere Dike had some nice plays. He had a couple. The one play that I keep thinking of was he ran the post, beat his man by a step, and Graham Mertz tried to throw it over Devin Moore, if I'm not mistaken. Tried to throw it over Devin Moore. Devin Moore made a play on the ball, and then Dike and Moore ended up in the hedges over there. So that's just like the play that keeps popping into my head. But it was clear that Graham Mertz wanted to get the ball to Chimere Dike when he felt he needed something. And that's important for a quarterback to have not one, but 2 players where you go, I need something, let me get the ball to that person. And having that kind of trust and faith. Like that's the big telling part. I'm not saying, oh, Biletnikoff winner, but you have the guy that you have faith in as a quarterback, and that's huge to play with the confidence that the Florida Gators need Graham Mertz to play with. The chemistry is still there with him and Graham. So Trey, Dike, 2 guys that Graham Mertz can go, I need a completion, I need to get the ball, we need to move the chains. I can throw it to these guys. Let's add a third, Khalil Jackson. Khalil Jackson, as a route runner, looked better on Saturday than he did all of last year. He looks more fluid as a mover. And it's also impressive, or it's also positive, because I feel like he was really rigid last year as a route runner. I just feel like he was rigid is the word that I'm going to use to describe him. He looked more fluid on Saturday. We'll see what happens long term with wear and tear and if bad habits come back or whatever. But Khalil Jackson looked more fluid. And on top of that, you had the 3rd and 3 on, I think, the first drive of the game for the Blue offense. 3rd and 3, slant to Khalil Jackson. Let the dude that can win contested catches, because it's not just jump balls, it's contested catches. Win contested catches and has a pretty big body. Let him run a slant on 3rd and short and just rifle it into him and just let him catch it and get tackled there, whatever, first down, who cares? But there's 3 players, I think, that Graham Mertz can have faith in and just go, I need to get the ball to one of these guys and do it quickly. Khalil Jackson, you can do it if you're trying to get a deep ball, go Khalil Jackson. If you want to go short, go Khalil Jackson with a slant. Sure. Dike, I think, is going to make most of his money in the intermediate range. I think those dig routes, the crossers that we like to see a lot, or that Billy Napier likes to call a lot, I think that's going to be Chimere Dike. And Trey Wilson is going to be your all-around guy. He's going to be, 3rd and 6 screen. We're going to see it at some point, probably. 3rd and 6 screen there, Trey Wilson. We want to run just a go route, Trey Wilson. Slot fade, Trey Wilson. Post, Trey Wilson. Like, I think he's your number 1 option still. But having 3 guys that you can say your quarterback pretty confidently trusts in the wide receiver room on money downs is huge. And I know that last week I was talking about Marcus Burke, and I was like, hey, I've spent 3 years now hyping up Marcus Burke. 4 years. Because he's a 2021 kid. So 2021, I loved him as a true freshman. 2022, when Billy Napier came here, I was so sold that Marcus Burke was going to make an impact with Anthony Richardson. 2023, I was like, all right, Graham Mertz is that's going to be his guy. And then now 2024. And I was like, I'm not going to do it this year. I've said it every year, and I'm not going to do it this year. And then you did it, Marcus. You had the spring game that you had, and now I'm sold again. So Marcus Burke, I don't think a lot of people understand the degree of difficulty on that post route that he caught like near his shins. The degree of difficulty, he's listed as 6'3", he's listed as 6'3" and 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So a quarter of an inch away from being 6'4". And he was running a post route, which, by the way, that was one of DJ Lagway's best plays of the game, because he threw that ball before Marcus Burke made his break on the post, before Marcus Burke was looking, before anything. He threw that throw with what JT O'Sullivan likes to call capital A anticipation, and he threw it. But Marcus Burke, like the degree of difficulty for someone that's almost 6'4" to in stride, turn, drop, catch a ball by their shins, and continue running until he's tackled. Like, it's not like he like took a step and tumbled. It was until he got tackled. That is insane. And we've seen Marcus Burke make some kind of circusy catches before, like even in practice, spring games, whatever it may be. We've seen him do it before, but this one was way different, because we usually see him do it on high balls because he's 6'4" almost. But to be 6'4" and get down to your ankles, catch it, and continue to run is huge. Like, that was just awesome. Aiden Mizell looks bulkier. Marcus Burke also looks bulkier, but Aiden Mizell looks bulkier. Played pretty well as far as stretching the field vertically. I could see that being an actual thing this year, where, and Billy Napier mentioned, Aiden Mizell, when he got here, was a track star. Now he's a football player, which I do think that you can make the argument for. But Aiden Mizell, I could see that being a thing this year, where they actually put him on the field, even if it's a slot, just a slot seam, slot fade, whatever it may be. Let him run. Let him run in straight lines and just go. I get it. I think I'm a guy as a receiver. I'm like, I love these great route runners, fluid movers, all that stuff. Some guys aren't meant to be that, and some guys don't have to be that. Like a guy like Marcus Burke and myself, you don't have to be that. Khalil Jackson, you don't have to be that. Khalil Jackson can be that. But Marcus Burke and Abe Mizell going to be a little rough because they're tall, lean guys. But they still have roles in an offense if they're willing to use them in those roles. And so Marcus Burke, Aiden Mizell, hell of a game on Saturday. Aiden Mizell had a touchdown catch, had the first touchdown catch for DJ Lagway. Tank Hawkins can contribute in the Trey Wilson role from last year. And I just want to throw this name out there. I do think we'll see Taylor Spirito a little bit, but also Brian Green Jr., another preferred walk-on from, I believe, the 2023 class. Brian Green Jr., he's fun. I don't know if he's ever going to be a contributor at all, but he's fun. Okay, just want to throw that one out there. Just want to say that. We will talk more tomorrow about the Florida Gators spring game, what we learned from it. Transfer portal's opening up. Could get nuts. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews in the podcast. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I will see you all next time.